Hello again, gang. Quick follow-up on what we were talking about a minute ago. With respect to inheritance, any child class is able to take the place of a parent class. So it's totally fine to say something like oldie O equals a new youngin. And this may seem slightly counterintuitive, but in fact, O is going to be a youngin under the hood and act as such, but can be passed around as though it was a parent. The utility of this may not be immediately apparent, but if you think hard about how Project 4 was put together, you'll recognize that there were some interchangeable pieces. The players, you could have either an interactive player or a greedy player, and the game treated those as identical things. You also have several sets of rules: the adjacent jam policy, the whole roll call policy, and for the honors section, the chain jam policy. Each of these were a sort of interchangeable thing. And this is the functionality that turns out to be the most useful in software, is to have a little piece that can be interchangeably changed out, that its behavior is different, because the underlying object is potentially different, has different implementations for various methods, but the socket in which it resides is uniformly shaped. Inheritance sets up another case of this, in which all children classes are guaranteed to have at least the methods that their parent class has, potentially more classes than that, so they can be used in place of a parent instead. At any rate, let us begin our discussion of the PrintWriter, because PrintWriters are going to be useful for your project, as you'll have to inherit from them in order to create this wrapped writer and cow writer. So PrintWriters live in the Java I/O package, so I'll import that whole package because we'll need it. And I can then make myself a PrintWriter. I'll call it PW equals a new PrintWriter, as such, and crap. Actually, no, I can't make a PrintWriter. And here's a very informative error message. Arguments given were nothing, and the expected return type was PrintWriter, but when you call PrintWriter's constructor, it actually expects something. Either passing in an output stream, whatever that is, and a boolean, a string, a char set and a file, a string, a stream, all these different things. So there is no zero argument for PrintWriters, just as there was a no zero argument way to create a scanner, and there's some relations here that we'll draw between them. Let's start with the first kind of PrintWriter that we'll build, one that actually writes to the screen. So if you look at this constructor, we'll wind it down here, an output stream. That's a class that we've not talked about at all, but maybe somewhat interesting to examine for a moment, because there is something we've used that comes from the output stream lineage. So let me buzz over here and ask about the Java PrintWriter class. That's our #1 Google hit, so let's come down here. About PrintWriter. The Java docs have this to say, that it prints formatted representations of objects to text output streams. Interesting. We've printed formatted representations of objects. I believe there was a print or a print line or a printf version of that we used, and if you recall, we used system.out for most of that stuff. Lo and behold, there are going to be print line and printf methods associated with PrintWriters as well. Before we get at those, though, we'll need to actually make one. Let's pop down here. There's some field that we can actually get at because it's protected rather than private. That's good. That here are the ways that were told to us in Dr. Java, and are given a little more detail here about how to create PrintWriters using their constructors. So here's the constructor of interest that takes an output stream, creates a new PrintWriter without automatic line flushing. That'll be a pain in the butt, from an existing output stream. Let me make one corollary here. Here's the Java system class. I jump down here and look at that system.out. It's something called a print stream. Could potentially be related. let's have a look at this print stream. Up here in the class summary of all classes in Java docs, the lineage of the class is given, as in what it inherits from. So down here is PrintStream, the class under consideration. It inherits directly from a filter output stream, but then one generation back from that is an output stream. Interesting. So if I have an output stream, and PrintStream is definitely a kind of output stream, it can be used in place of any output stream because it has the same methods. If I have an output stream around, I can actually make a PrintWriter. Let's try. So I have this system.out guy, system.out sitting around, and it is a print stream, which descends from output streams. I can actually ask that, Mr. System.out, are you an instance of an output stream? That particular syntax in Java, the keyword instance of, will ask a class if at some point it descended from some other parent class. So system.out is indeed an output stream. It'll also be a filter output stream if we believe the Java docs over here. That print stream descends from filter output stream. And there should also be an object. So if I ask, are you an object? Yes. I can ask about other classes though, like are you a string? And bad type in instance of expression. I don't know what that means. I guess that means it's bad. How about an integer? Probably the same thing, bad types. Okay, well, maybe Dr. Java is a little confused about instant of. At any rate, I should be able to build a print writer from system.out because it has the right type signature. So let's try. Up here we were trying to make a print writer. Needed an argument. Let's give it system.out. So here's PW. It is a print writer. The toString method for print writers doesn't give us anything very informative, just the type and maybe a memory address. Let's do some things. What can print writers do? Well, that's all listed down here in their method summary. There's appending, there's closing. Closing, that could be interesting. More on that later, though. Here's what we're really interested in. Print lining and printing, and maybe printfing. But for the moment, let's focus on print lining. I can print booleans and cars and car arrays and doubles and floats and ints. Where's the one I'm interested in? Strings. There we go. I can print strings with a print writer, which seems apropos, right? So here's a PW print line, and here's a nice string, hello. Well, I thought I could print things. There's one caveat to print writers that is vexing. If you look carefully at the constructor for output streams, without automatic flushing from an existing output stream, a lot of I/O happens in computing in fixed sets of batches. So PrintWriter has some internal buffer where it is storing hello, and is waiting till that buffer fills up before it actually pushes it out to the screen. Let's tell it explicitly to do that pushing out right now by saying flush thyself, which will actually push this text out onto the screen. So if I do those things in tandem, hello world, it's a beautiful day, and then flush again, I get these strings. So this is printing to the screen because we said the destination for printing should be the screen. System.out governs the screen, and that's what we said the destination for this particular print writer should be. Now that's not necessarily where we want all text to go. If that was all print writers were good for, this would be sort of a sad discussion. But instead, there are other places to send output. Most pertinent is files. This will be our way to push output into files in Java, and we can build a print writer that writes into files by handing in a file argument. Just say, write your output to here. So I'll take my print writer PW and I'll say, stop printing the screen, make thyself a new print writer, and I'll make a new file. I'll call it theoutput.txt. So now when I do things like, buzz back up in the history, do this guy, and I do a pw.flush, I'm not going to see anything printed to the screen. pw.printline more output, hopefully in a file. I can do something like pw.close, and this is good practice, just as it was good practice with scanners, to close when you're finished with a file. Nothing appears to have happened, but I'll need to buzz around and look. There should be a new file sitting around. I'll have to tell Dr. Java, look around for all files, and lo and behold, the output.txt. What's in here? Well, it's exactly what I told it to be. Hello world, it's a beautiful day, and more output, hopefully in a file. That's exactly what I printed there. So print writers are able to print to files or to the screen. The careful observer should notice a connection here. If I import Java util, everything in there, I can make myself a scanner. Scanner input equals a new scanner. And instead of passing in system.out, I can pass in system.in, which will allow me to read strings from the user. Hello. Hello is returned. Instead, I can ask the scanner not to read from system.in, but from a new file, like the output.txt. One more curly, one paren, good. And if I ask for what the next input string is from that file, I should get hello, and then world, and then it's, and so forth. So, we now have the ability to both read input from files and push output to files. Two different classes are used for this. The reading is our old friend scanner, and the writing to files is our new friend PrintWriter. PrintWriter is going to be useful and interesting for other ways because it gives us a way to, if we want to transform output either to the screen or as it's being pushed out to a file, we can inherit from PrintWriter by extending it, create a new class that modifies output and then passes it through the parent class to go wherever it was supposed to go, either to the screen or to a file. That'll be the subject of the third and final video, but take a breather now, play around with PrintWriter, and write yourself a few files in your favorite format, or write some files with your own name in them, for instance.